Hello and welcome to part 2 of the complete introduction to Destiny. It's been a long time since that first part and we're definitely due for an update. There's been a lot of info since that video, aka every video I've ever made, so let's get going. Most of this info is going to be very summarized, but if you'd like to take a more in-depth look at whatever is being discussed, there will be an annotation to take you to that video. If you have absolutely no idea what Destiny is, or this is the first time you're attempting to learn about it, I highly advise watching part 1 first for an overview of the game. June was E3, and at E3, Bungie revealed gameplay of Destiny for the first time. It was in a low-level area in Old Russia, an area on Earth. From this video, we learned about guns, the Ghost, armor, bosses, public events, fire teams, and much more. I'm going to very quickly run down a list of things. First, the HUD. It's very basic. You have your radar, ammo count, abilities, and their cooldowns. The Ghost is this little guy right here. The Ghost will help you during your journey through the world, but we don't know to what extent yet. The Ghost will also signal you to people who need to be resurrected. A fire team is a party. It can be a maximum of 3 people. Enemies have their level and HP bars over their heads. Guardians have a melee knife attack. Combat will mostly be in the first-person view with the occasional third-person views when using abilities. Headshots are critical strikes dealing increased damage. It's possible to revive your teammates, but due to the nature of the E3 demo, it's unknown if you have an unlimited amount of time to revive. It's also possible to revive yourself in certain situations when playing alone, but we have not seen this in action just yet. In the E3 demo, the players had infinite ammo. We still don't know how finding ammo will work. So what's a public event? A public event is an event that takes place in Destiny where a main feature of the game, the shared world, is experienced. In these public events, anyone playing the game within an area of the public event happening will be seamlessly joined together for the event. Once the event starts, you can either participate in the event or you can simply ignore it and do something else. Once the event is over, each player who participated will get their own loot and they are free to go on their way. Everyone gets their own loot in Destiny, so don't worry about ninja looters. The event featured in the E3 demo was a boss fight against a Devil Walker and several fallen enemies. We don't know what other kinds of public events will be in the game just yet. We also don't know how many people will be allowed in a public event at one time. Bungie's still balancing that. On the topic of shared world, it will apparently go beyond just public events. In Edge Magazine's Destiny article, a player was struggling with a boss fight and 2 higher level characters phased in and were able to help this player. However, besides this article, this has not been discussed at length at all, and we do not know the extent of how far the shared world will expand beyond public events. As for the impact public events will have on your story, the answer that we have isn't exactly straightforward. Right now they have a Guild Wars 2 kind of vibe, where, yeah, the event will happen and maybe there will be some impact on your campaign, but it seems like they're just repeating events. However, we still need more information before we can come to any sort of conclusion. What are class skills? Each of the 3 classes, the Warlock, Titan, and Hunter, get their own skills. These skills have also been referenced as supers. These abilities will be upgradable as well from cosmetic to combat. For the Warlock, the ones we know of right now are Nova Bomb, Solar Flare, and Radiance. Nova Bomb is a large attack sending a giant orb towards your enemies at a high speed. Solar Flare is a smaller attack that resembles throwing a grenade at your enemy, dealing fire damage. Radiance was shown in ViDoc 2, but we don't exactly know what it does yet. It looks like it may deal damage, but given the color of the effect when it goes off, it might have some healing properties as well. In an interview done with Jason Jones, he explained that the Warlock, quote, basically has the team buff and team res abilities, but we haven't heard much else beyond those comments on the team buff and team res abilities. The Hunter has Golden Gun and more unnamed abilities. Golden Gun makes the Hunter's gun gold, shocker, and gives one-hit kills on any enemies shot for a limited time. We don't know if this is always a one-hit kill or if it's just very high damage. The Hunter has another ability which I believe to be this one. The Hunter throws out a small field of red spheres in front of them. We don't know what they do, but given that the hunter has this ability, it will most likely deal damage, snare, slow, or a combo of all three of them to any enemy that touches them. We also learned possibly 2 more abilities for the hunter. The first is either a dash or a blink ability, and the second is a golden gun-like melee ability. These are assumed to be for the hunter given the armor of the guardian using these abilities and the nature of the abilities themselves. The only ability we know for the Titan is Fist of Havoc. The Titan leaps in the air, dealing AoE damage to anything around the Titan. In ViDoc 2, we saw the icon for another ability for the Titan, but we don't know what it is yet. The last ability is a shield. We still do not know 100% who has this ability or what it 100% does. Yes, I know it's a shield, it could do other stuff. Lastly, we do not know if any of the classes share abilities with each other. We saw in the E3 demo that the Warlock only had 2 slots for abilities. In Out Here in the Wild, the Warlock has 3 slots in one clip and then back to 2 in another. We don't know 100% what the deal is with the amount of abilities we'll have access to at one time. There are also supposedly more abilities waiting to be revealed, and we'll be able to interchange which abilities we have equipped. Weapons and armor. First, weapons. We've learned quite a bit more about weapons since May. Right now, you have 3 slots for weapons: a primary slot, a special slot, and a heavy weapons slot. The primary slot is for your assault rifles, possibly your fusion or sniper rifle as well. Special slots are for hand cannons and shotguns, and the heavy slot is for your rocket launchers and your heavy machine guns. Switching between the 3 is simple, but Bungie does not encourage attempting to switch more than these weapons during combat, but we still do not know the mechanics behind this just yet. While I was at E3, several images of guns were revealed on monitors while I waited in line for the E3 demo. Most of these guns have been revealed on the Destiny Drawing Board, a series on Bungie's website where they go over certain weapons in the game. The ones that have been covered are Red Death, Gallarhorn, Closing Time, Duke Mark 44, Thunderlord, Silver Dollar, and Conduit F3. Additional weapons from E3 include the Monitor S11, the PSI Umbra 2, and Sanctuary No. 2. Each exotic weapon will have its own upgrade tree. To go from upgrade to upgrade, you need Glimmer, weapon kits, and talent points. While this gun, the Thunderlord, only has 1 upgrade path, supposedly other guns will have multiple trees to choose from. Weapons also have their own item levels and stats. Guns will be widely customizable: scopes, stocks, barrels, but we've only seen this customization through concept art and screenshots. We haven't seen it in-game just yet. On the armor side of things, we've barely learned anything. We know there are slots for head, arms, chest, legs, and a special class slot. We know that we'll be able to upgrade our armor. We've seen this thing equipped on the Warlock called Void, but we don't know what it is just yet. Beyond that, we're still waiting for more information. Control scheme. This image shows the controls for the Warlock, but you can assume that the controls will be the same for the other classes. Your L2 R2 is for gunplay, while the D-pad are used for emotes. Bungie wanted these emotes to be really accessible for when you meet other players in the world. There are no menus needed. Factions. We barely know anything about factions, but in an interview done with Destination.org, Deej explains that, quote, "It's a product of the human civilization and it'll be a component of multiplayer." We'll learn more about factions as we get closer to beta. Locations. E3 featured a video that showed off some locations. These locations are the Moon, Jupiter, Venus, Mars, Mercury, Saturn, and of course, Earth. The Moon is home to the Hellmouth, which is inhabited by the Hive, one of the races of enemies that you'll be fighting. The Hellmouth is one of their bases that you'll be able to infiltrate in order to take down Fogoth, which is a boss. But we don't know what the lore is behind Fogoth just yet. The Moon was also home to the Moon Base during the Golden Age, but the alien invasion left it desolate. The Comms Tower was the main relay station between Earth and the rest of the solar system during colonization during the Golden Age. As for any other locations, all we've seen are a couple of glimpses. The Black Garden looks beautiful, and here's a really quick shot of Mars. In terms of in-game footage, most of the other locations that we've seen do not have their locations confirmed. We don't know exactly where they are. There are some clips here and there of Mars and Venus, but nothing really in big detail. Vehicles. We know slightly more about vehicles. For example, right as the public event starts in the E3 gameplay, we see Guardians speeding along on some vehicles. We've also gotten confirmation that, quote, every Guardian in Destiny will have a vehicle to call their own. In an interview with AUS Gamers, we learned that players will have their own vehicles to go from planet to planet, and also vehicles to use while on the ground. We don't know if interplanetary travel will just be a fast travel menu option, or if you'll be able to manually fly yourself from planet to planet. Competitive multiplayer. Here's what we've learned about competitive multiplayer so far.
And then you also have competitive multiplayer.
Not much there. There's the phrase rumble, which sounds like a game type, and we see that shield ability again. Otherwise, you're gonna have to stay tuned. Release date, beta, microtransactions, and PC. Bungie has given Destiny a loose release date of spring 2014. There will be a beta before the game's release. To get into the beta, you must pre-order Destiny at a participating retailer: Amazon, GameStop, Best Buy, or Walmart. When you pre-order, you'll be given a code on your receipt or in an email. Go to bungie.net/beta, make an account, punch in your code, and you're all set. There is no option to pick which console you'll play it on. You'll decide that later once we get closer to the beta. Bungie has also been passing out codes very sparingly, but to guarantee the beta, just pre-order the game. We still do not know the extent of microtransactions either. Bungie has some legal mumbo-jumbo on their website that covers the topic of virtual goods, but nothing else has been discussed in depth. However, in a mail sack from June 21st, the question of, to what extent will real money be used in Destiny, was answered with, quote, the rewards you will gain by playing Destiny, and playing it well, will be earned. Implying that if any microtransactions are in the game, they'll be strictly cosmetic. As for PC, Bungie has not marketed Destiny for PC at all. While they haven't outright confirmed or denied it, if you're looking to play Destiny, your best bet is to pick it up for console. I'm not saying it'll never happen, but as of right now, it's bleak for the first edition of the game. What you're seeing right now are Destiny trading card codes. We don't know what they do just yet, but you should go punch these in anyway at bungie.net/beta. We'll need to wait until 2014 to find out what they do. So finally, we are at the end. This is a lot of information, and I'm sure I've missed something. So if I did, let me know in the comments and I'll annotate as needed. If you have any questions at all, feel free to ask in the comments and I will do my best to answer. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you next time.